Join us at the Lexington Comic and Toy Convention, March 23rd through 26th. We'll be at booths 1113 and 1114, decked out in cosplay, selling the latest Angel of Death merch. Tickets are available via the link in the description. Hope to see you there.
Hi everybody, welcome to the last episode this week of the origin of the Angel of Death series for the Composition of Imagination. I am your host and author, Stevie Jo. These are my book guardians, Tasha and Jason. They are taking the reins, asking me all the questions. Today's the last video. We're going to talk about the origin, and then on Monday, we're going to shift to something else. So we'll tell you that at the end.
With your covers for each book, when you look at those covers, do you already have that kind of in your head when you're writing a particular book? Like, okay, we know in the beginning, that's your setup. So in your mind, you're seeing Alchemy Falls. You're seeing the town of Merlands. As you're going forward, and you don't know what the cover is going to look like, but you do have ideas.
Yeah.
Do you use that as you're writing the later chapters?
I do, because I actually have filler covers. They're just images that I pulled from, like, if I saw something I liked on Pinterest or something like that, or like a royalty-free image. These are not images that I actually publish because I would have to buy the rights to them, and that's too much. It's way better anyway. My artist is awesome. He is just off the charts phenomenal. Keith McCafferty, we love you. I have a filler cover in mind, and I put that in because I've got like a template, because I send that to him so he knows how much space he has to craft things. I've already got like the text where it's going to be, the back matter, like the synopsis, the place where the barcode will go, because for him it helps so he knows not to like
make it too big.
And he knows important parts of the image might be covered if he puts them over here. So maybe move it over here. So it's a good guide for him, but it also serves as a reminder for me, so that, because by the time I get to like book 11, I've got my outline, but it's a quick refresher as soon as I look at the cover, because book 11 is a long ways from book 1. So by the time I get to 11 and the story is progressing and I've got all this in my mind from the past that I have to keep in mind, I'm like, all right, wait, what was 11 about again? And I can look at the cover and go, oh yeah, that's it.
Okay.
So I do have some kind of image in mind. I will say that for the first 4 books, I gave Keith very loose instructions. I was like, listen, here's what I had in mind for I don't send him the filler image because I don't want him to be subconsciously influenced by it. I send him the blank template with just the text. And I'm like, kind of, here's what I have in mind. But I give him basically free reign to do. I'll send him the synopsis of the book and be like, here's what you can do. Like, here's what the book is about. Pick something. Here's what I had in mind, but you don't have to do it. And he has delivered every single time.
You said before that you write books that you want to read. So when making the books, this is kind of more of like the meat and potatoes of it, like the acknowledgement, the synopsis, do you do that subconsciously where you place things, or you're like, no, this is where I like it, so this is why I'm going to put it here and on this page or on the back of it or on the inside? So more of that.
It's actually kind of I try to keep with what is industry standard, so that I want my book to stand out, but I also want it to not look like I did this all myself. You know what I mean? So what I did before I did like the front matter and the back matter with like the acknowledgments and the dedication and all that, I spent a good 20 minutes or so combing through all my books back here and going, who has what and where is everything placed? And I took notes on it and was like, okay, this person has an acknowledgement, but you don't have to do that for everyone. This person has a dedication. Obviously, you don't have to do that. I feel like you don't have to do that for everyone. And then the chapter titles I did because I was like, it's funny because I saw a post on Pinterest that was like, things we should bring back in novels, and chapter titles was one of them. And as I went through my books to look for that front matter stuff, I was like, you know what, you're right. Not a lot of these have chapter titles. So I want to do that because I think it really is an engaging thing. But the author bio and like the way the title pages are done, I took directly from what I see on these books back here, because I figure that's what the major publishers are doing. So I might as well do it like that too. And I like how it's done. I learned from Sean Astin when I met him at Wizard World, which is no longer Wizard World, but a long time ago. I had him sign his book, and the person with him had opened it to the first title page, where it's like, you know, There and Back Again, and it's got like a bunch of stuff on it with the publisher and everything like that. She put the note there for him to sign. He made a little joke, took the sticky note off, looked at me and said, "The author always signs on the author page," and flipped it a couple more pages where the title was again, but this time his name was there, and that's where he signed. And I really took that to heart, because I was like, I have to remember that. So now every book I sign, even though there's the main title page that's like Angel of Death in the beginning, flip a couple more pages and that's where I sign. Because that's what Sean Astin told me to do. It's not that I think he's like the pinnacle of authors. I just really respect him. Yeah. And I did think that was a good point.
No, it is a good point.
So it is all that's the one thing that I do that's not like what I necessarily want to do, although I don't mind doing it. Right. The way that matter is set up.
For your book, I almost feel like by the time you get to book 22, one, it's going to be an emotional roller coaster. Yeah. Because it's going to be the grand finale of the main story. Mm-hmm. Have you thought about, for that, once we get to that point, I know we're dealing with origins, having a minor character from the first book somehow, and you haven't seen or heard somewhere down in these later books, mm-hmm. make an appearance at the end as a what a twist, you know?
No, because I have a very set plan for all these characters. Okay. And we start out in book 1 with a huge cast. I mean, it's a lot of characters. And then when book 3 comes along and you introduce Hell, it expands even more. So from book 4 on, I have what I call the death schedule. and I have it listed when certain characters are going to die. Not each character, because not everybody's going to die. I'm not Game of Thronesing this. But it's very like, okay, it is pivotal to the story if this person dies right now, because 1, their purpose has been served, and 2, it has to help propel someone else forward. Whether it's Skylar, Elias, whether it's Cordelia, doesn't matter. It has to help propel someone else forward. Mm-hmm. So I can't really have someone come back at the end, but I can tell you that some characters from book 22 might linger and start a series of their own.
Oh, nice.
So, well, cool. And there might be a little novella to bridge the two together. In between there. So.
Yeah, you are definitely creating a universe.
I really am.
Why did you want to bring a vampiric character into your story?
Because I love vampires. But I also...
obviously, if you think about it from like the Universal Monsters perspective, well, you got Wolfman, Lycans, vampires.
Yeah. The Sanguines, though, is different.
It is different, but they're of a vampiric nature. Yes.
And so I did that on purpose because it seems like everybody has this one set notion about what a vampire is, and it's been that way forever. And I was like, If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And I don't want to try to reinvent the wheel. So you know what? We're going to say they're dead, and I'm creating a new species of them. And that way I have more flexibility because they're vampire based, but they're not the same. So I'm allowed to play with it and let it be different and have its own kind of form. So I was like, well, I'm recreating my version of heaven and hell. So who's to say in alt uni that we don't have this random kind of cousin that managed to, because to me, it's all about evolution.
Yeah.
It's how you evolve to adapt to the situation. And that's kind of what I feel the Sanguise did from the vampire.
You said you're doing 22 books.
Yes.
Why 22? Does that number have something specific to it? Or just like, I'm going to stop at 22 with this?
No, that was when I felt, as I was writing my outlines, that was when I felt the story could finish. As I was going through writing, like, here's what's happening in my timeline, I'm like, okay, this story is really big, so how do we flush it out and get it all across? And 22, once I got there, I was like, all right, the story can end here. This is enough. Yeah, but then I came up with the idea to do a sequel series. That was kind of my thinking behind that many books. It really scared me whenever I was like, oh my God, 22. This is a lot.
I was thinking last year you were thinking about maybe cutting back to 21. You kept going back and forth.
That's why I did the novellas.
Okay.
Because the novellas help to show what I might have cut out. So that's why they're there.
When you were coming up with the idea for the town of Merlands and everything, did you consciously think of the Jerichos as a small town political family?
Yes. Very much so.
When you were like, oh, I'm going to have, Alchemy Falls, I'm going to have creatures, and I'm going to have a powerful family that is dirty as all get out.
I mean, I didn't necessarily look at it like that,
But, I mean, as you started fleshing it out, I mean, you really consciously, before you even got the name Jericho, you thought of the family, they were going to be a small town political.
Because, so my original thought behind the family, they were originally the Barkers. And they are from A Stitch in Time, that first book with them in it. And they actually were based in Lexington, because we had just moved here at the time. So I was like, all right, this is a really cool city to be able to base something out of. And so I kept trying to take them and place them in Lexington, and I just couldn't do it. That was part of why A Stitch in Time didn't work, because I couldn't get them to be here. So I had to move them somewhere else. I was like, what if I just make up a city with my own, with like its own rules and its own thing, and it still exists in Kentucky, and I know Kentucky, but it's not here, so that if I get, part of the reason was because if I get something wrong, no one can be like, that's actually not how it is. And I'd be like, motherfucker, yes it is, I created this world. I know how it is. But that was part of my process behind that. And they actually were still, even in A Stitch in Time, the Barker family as they were like these, I wanted to write something about like a fashion empire. I was watching Project Runway at the time.
I was like, are you watching Dynasty?
It was a combination.
The original?
Yeah, it was a combination, honest to God, a combination of Project Runway and The Bold and the Beautiful coming together.
Oh.
And so I was like, all right, maybe I can do this. And then that's when I got, later I got the inspiration of the Heaven and Hell, and everything changed. So... well, I think that is a great place to end the origin discussion. That is the last video specifically about origins for the month of March. We may revisit it later and talk more about some stuff, but that wraps it up for this week. Tune in next week, and we're going to be talking about what is our topic.
Oh, Archetypes.
Archetypes is what we're going to be talking about next week, the whole week long, from Monday through Friday. So be sure you subscribe to the Composition of Imagination. Head to steviejoauthor.com. Order your copies of Angel of Death. The first 4 of them are there. Book 5 comes out in June, and you definitely don't want to miss the Blessed Implosion. And that wraps it up for this week. So we will see you guys next time.
Catch up on the Angel of Death series today. The first 4 entries are now available directly at steviejoauthor.com.